Good morning. It's Sunday, January 4th. I'm Kayla Ayers. A traffic stop ends in gunfire with a police officer shot and the suspected shooter still on the run. That officer, a 30-year veteran with Albuquerque Police, is expected to survive, and APD is expected to release more information this afternoon. Now, the call came in at around 2:30 yesterday morning. Police say the officer, whose name they've asked us not to release, pulled over a suspected drunk driver. As the officer went up to the vehicle, he was shot. Police say he was able to shoot back, but that the man got away. It's not clear right now if that suspect was hit. This is the first time an APD officer has been shot since October of 2013. That's when Christopher Chase stole a police cruiser, leading cops on a wild run around Albuquerque. He shot 3 officers and seriously injured a Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputy.
This is the day-to-day calls and service that officers face every day. This is a 30-year veteran that just did a typical car stop, and he got shot in the line of duty.
We've learned one bullet hit the officer's bulletproof vest. The other hit also somewhere in his torso. It's unclear what kind of firearm the shooter was using or how many shots were fired. ATF is now offering a $7,000 reward for information leading to the shooter's capture and conviction. You can see the full briefing police gave us on our website, KRQE.com. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll hear from a neighbor living at the apartment complex near where this happened with what he saw and heard. The man who police say drove off from a DWI checkpoint and rolled his truck has faced a judge. Last weekend, APD says Enrique Larios pulled up to a DWI checkpoint and took off, nearly hitting several officers. Police say he flipped his truck after hitting a parked car, hurting several of his passengers and himself. According to court records, Larios already has 2 previous DWI convictions and another one pending from December. The judge wasn't too happy to hear that.
I'm concerned about your criminal history, including prior DWIs. I'm concerned about the nature of the allegations in this case.
Larios' bond is set at $50,000 cash or surety. Buying a drink for a friend in Oklahoma could become a lot harder soon. That's if lawmakers get their way. A section of a proposed Senate bill will make a felon out of anyone who sells or gives alcohol to someone charged with a DUI. That felony charge could also come with a fine of up to $1,000 or up to a year in prison if you knew the person was not supposed to drink. But some aren't convinced about how realistic the law is.
Keep in mind, the consumption of alcohol has never been illegal unless you were underage. And in this case, they seem to be saying we want the court to enforce something that's really almost unenforceable.
Slane adds the proposed law has some flaws that, if passed, will need to be ironed out. That would include a provision allowing alcohol for religious reasons like communion. Dozens of coyote carcasses were found dumped in a New Mexico desert, stirring up more controversy over coyote hunting contests. Last week, people jogging near the Las Cruces airport saw almost 40 coyote bodies. Coyotes are not a protected species in New Mexico, which means killing them is not regulated. The Southwest Environmental Center says the killing contests are a waste. They're pushing for legislation to outlaw hunting coyotes for sport.
They promote an attitude of disrespect for life. It has nothing to do with ethical hunting. The coyotes aren't eaten. In most cases, the fur's not taken.
Hunters say it helps ranchers get rid of predators, and the New Mexico Desert Dogs, which holds hunting contests, says every year hundreds of thousands of dollars go back into habitat management when hunters buy permits. They also say they contribute millions into the economy when buying supplies and staying in hotels. The recent storm left icy roads, prompting officials to close the Carlsbad Caverns National Park. Park officials say the highway that's the main access point to the park froze over. On Friday, the park was closed because a water line froze and broke. Well, it's another cold start to the week, but it won't stay that way. Let's check in with Chris Gilson.
It's a very cold morning out there with temperatures starting out in the single digits and the teens. You're going to have to watch out for some fog, especially in areas that saw the fresh snowfall on Friday. Eventually by 9 o'clock, we'll still only be in the low to mid 20s, so it's going to be a chilly start here in the metro. By lunchtime, sitting in the lower 30s, around freezing. We'll top out in the upper 30s, lower 40s. Now, after a cold start today, we will see a lot of sunshine for this afternoon, and eventually we'll warm things up so much that temperatures will be above average but another cold front does head in our direction later this week. We'll talk about what changes that will bring, who could see some showers, and who will be feeling the breezes coming up in your full forecast in just a few minutes.
A trio of Democrats elected to statewide office have been sworn in. Newly elected State Attorney General Hector Balderas, State Auditor Tim Keller, and State Treasurer Tim Eichenberg took their oaths of office yesterday morning in Santa Fe. Balderas replaces Gary King, who lost his bid for the governor's office in November. Firefighters are known for their red trucks and water hoses, but helicopters? A New Mexico Fire Department is adding one to their fleet this month, and they're only the second department in the state to do so. As News 13's Emily Younger shows us, the chopper is expected to help out in a big way.
Fire trucks, ambulances, and now a chopper. The Sandoval County Fire Department is getting a new set of wheels.
It extends our ability to provide really great patient care.
In a job when every second counts, Fire Chief James Maxson says this helicopter could mean the difference between life and death in spread out Sandoval County.
Our county is 3,700 square miles, and we've been flying 5 to 6 helicopters a week into our county. And with really critical patients, time is of the essence.
Right now, the department relies on medical helicopters based out of Santa Fe and Rio Rancho. The problem, they're not always available, so crews end up having to get there on the ground.
Before, it could take EMT crews up to 2 hours to get from rural Sandoval County to the hospital. But now with this new chopper, that time's cut in half.
With our helicopter based right at their station, we'll be able to take off quicker, fly out to anywhere in the county, and get the patient to the Albuquerque hospital within an hour.
Ed Rue is the business manager for Tri-State Care Flight, the helicopter company that's partnering with Sandoval County.
This is where the patient is loaded into.
Care Flight will staff the helicopter with a pilot, medic, and nurse. That crew will be housed at the department, also cutting down on response times.
I think every time we can expand our capabilities and do great things for the patients that we treat, it's an exciting thing.
Emily Younger, KRQE, News 13.
The county says the chopper won't cost them a thing because the company will hire its own crew. The department hopes to have the program up and running by the end of the month. Albuquerque police officer shot during a traffic stop is recovering this morning as the department scrambles to find the man who pulled the trigger. The shooter, who took off after opening fire, hit that officer twice. Now police are urging the shooter to turn himself in. News 13's Cole Miller has more.
I was up playing video games with my friend, and we heard a couple of shots go off.
Those shots rang out at 2:30.
We stopped playing the game and called 911, actually.
Derek Trukowski didn't know what had just happened outside his apartment complex.
30 seconds later, he heard sirens.
He and Albuquerque police would soon learn an officer had been shot.
This is a 30-year veteran that just did a typical car stop, and he got shot in the line of duty.
It happened near the Lakes Apartments by San Mateo and Montgomery. Police say the officer, whose name APD has asked us not to release yet, was pulling over a suspected drunk driver.
We believe that one of the rounds hit his vest and the other round hit somewhere on his torso.
The officer returned fire, though it's not clear if he hit the shooter, who took off on foot. Police say he spent hours in surgery.
Prior to the surgery, he was in good spirits and he looked good.
The department has everyone on the lookout, working the case and following leads.
To the individual responsible for shooting our officer, we would compel you to come forward.
News 13 has learned the officer's lapel camera was rolling, and detectives are now looking closely at it to see just what went down. Now, this comes on the heels of a disturbing phone call APD took. A caller told the dispatcher that 2 deputies had been killed. APD tipped off BCSO, who determined everyone was accounted for. APD is investigating that call into threats, but right now investigators do not believe it's related to this officer being shot.
Hope you guys catch the guys that did that.
Cole Miller, KRQE, News 13.
The feds are offering up a $7,000 reward for information in this case. APD and Chief Gordon Eden have scheduled a news conference for 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll be there bringing you the latest information. Now, this case is eerily similar to the story of Deputy James McGrain. He was shot and killed during a routine traffic stop back in 2006 by Michael Astorga. Astorga is spending life in prison now. The Roswell Police Department is still looking for the person who shot at an off-duty officer outside his home on New Year's Eve. The Roswell Daily Record reports the officer had just returned home and was walking to his house when someone in a white Honda Civic shot at him. The officer ran inside and was not injured. Investigators say he may have been targeted because he's a police officer. Albuquerque police are investigating a shooting near Nob Hill. Police say someone in a black sedan shot a person around 8 yesterday evening near Central and Washington. APD says it may have been a drive-by. They're trying to figure out if the shooter was targeting the victim or if it was random. The victim was taken to the hospital. Police say that person is not cooperating with the investigation. New Mexico is ranked as the second most dangerous state in the country. The report was put together by 24/7 Wall Street. The website ranked states based on information from the FBI's 2013 Uniform Crime Report. The report says New Mexico's violent crime rate rose about 6.5% between 2012 and 2013. The report also shows Albuquerque had a crime rate more than twice the national average. Overall, the number of violent crimes dropped across the country by nearly 4.5% in 2013 compared to the year before. Alaska was ranked the most dangerous state in the country. Two divers who successfully reached the suspected wreck site of AirAsia Flight 8501 didn't get to stay long. They were forced to turn around almost immediately because of bad conditions on the surface of the water. Divers are grappling with light rain and rolling waves as they continue the search for bodies and for wreckage. Officials say they think many bodies are still strapped into seats. So far, 31 bodies have been recovered. Relatives of the plane's captain say they're still hopeful he could be found alive.
I'm strong for my mom, for my brother, and I have friends beside me.
Searchers are using sonar, and that's how they found the suspected wreckage. There's still no sign of the plane's black boxes. The National Transportation Safety Board is expected to arrive at the site of a deadly plane crash in Kentucky today. Everyone on board the plane except for one little girl was killed when it crashed into the woods on Friday night. The victims are Marty and Kimberly Gutzler, their 9-year-old daughter Piper, and a 14-year-old cousin, Sierra Wilder. 7-year-old Sailor Gutzler is the lone survivor. She found her way to the home of Larry Wilkins.
Opened the door, and this little girl, 7 years old, had bloody nose, arms scratched up, legs were eat up. And she told me her mom and dad was dead. Said she had a plane crash and the plane was upside down.
Sailor has been released from the hospital. She was picked up by her grandmother and taken back to Illinois, where the family is from. House Republicans are putting approval of the Keystone XL pipeline at the top of their agenda for the new Congress. The pipeline would move oil from Canada to refineries in the U.S. This Wednesday, a hearing will be held on the Keystone bill. A vote is expected on Thursday, and Republicans plan to move that bill to a full Senate vote after that. But President Obama is expected to veto it. He says the pipeline may contribute to global warming, and there are better ways to create jobs. Republicans would need Democratic support in both chambers in order to get the 2/3 majority to override a presidential veto.